Esteemed learners, welcome again to the Manifested e-learning platform. I would like to welcome you again. Our lesson today is on nouns, and this is something we all know. There's nothing new really, but now we will look at functions of nouns. Before I look at functions of nouns, let us describe what a noun is. A noun is a word. It is a word that is used to name people, places, things, and animals. A noun is a word that is used to name people, places, things, and animals. For example, e.g., we have man, we have dog, we have Kenya, we have desk. They name things. We have Maina. We have university. All these are nouns. They are naming things. They are naming places. They are naming animals. All right. Now, right from Form 1, you are introduced to the types of nouns, and the first ever is if we look at now, we draw a small table. We have proper and common nouns. Okay? Under proper and common nouns, these are names of specific things. Names of specific things, places, animals, etc. For example, we have Kenyatta University, Red Sea, we have Nelson Mandela, which other word? Any word that names a specific thing or a specific place, or yeah, we can have that as what? Proper. Then common nouns are names of things, places. For example, we have keys, we have doors, we have cars, girls. Okay. Now, if we break it down now, we will have a very big table again. So here, let me just continue. Under this now, we have countable and uncountable nouns. Under that, we have countable nouns are things like tables, anything you can count. Okay. Let me say pens. Okay. Now, uncountable are those that cannot be counted. For example, water. We have sugar. Okay. We have love. So we have love. All those are uncountable nouns. You can't count love. You can't count sugar. You can't count water. That's why we call it uncountable. Other types of nouns, there are so many. Apart from these ones, we have concrete and abstract. Concrete, again, is almost the same thing. Something that you can touch. But abstract is something you cannot touch. Concrete includes things like tables, this pen, myself, a human being. And abstract things like love, things like hate, things like, hatred. You can't touch them. You can only feel them. All right? Then we also have compound and collective nouns. Collective nouns, they name a group of things or a group of people. For example, cloud. For example, what else? For example, bevy, we have a flock. Those ones are collective nouns. Then we have compound nouns. These are nouns that have been joined together to form a particular noun. And those like dustbin, we have blackboard or whiteboard, or computer programmer, all those are compound nouns. Then we get to a point where we have words that are derived from nouns. For example, kingship. It has been derived from which word? King and ship. We have employer. It has been derived from a verb, and you add er and then you get a noun there. Then we also have something like, what else? We have different types of nouns that have been just derived from the word, like absenteeism. Absentee, then you just add ism, then you get there a noun. Those are a noun that have been derived from other words. Then now we get to our main focus today, which is on functions of nouns. Having described what a noun is, we all know it's a name of a thing, a place. So our focus today was on functions of nouns. Okay, a noun also has a function in a sentence. Usually we have the subject and the verb and the object in a sentence. For example, Mary ate the food. So this is the object, this is the verb, this is the sentence. A simple sentence. A simple sentence. So we're going to look at how these nouns function in sentences. And one of the functions now is a noun as a subject. A noun as a subject. Now, what is a subject? The subject in a sentence is a performer of an action. A subject performs the action in the sentence. Okay? And you say that the noun functions as a subject. So when it functions as a subject, now the subject is the performer of the what? The action. For example, in the sentence above, we have Mary. Mary is the what? Is the subject. So in this case, Mary, the noun, and it is the noun that is functioning as a what? As a subject. So in this case, the noun Mary has functioned as a what? A subject. It is taking the subject position. It is performing the action. Okay? The boys came to school. Okay? So the boys is our subject here. Hence, so as a subject. So here, the noun, the boys, is functioning as a subject. Remember, the noun can be also in form of a phrase. Okay, so that we have the boys as a noun phrase that is functioning as a subject. Okay, so we've learned that the noun can function as a subject in a sentence. Another function, number 2, is the noun as an object. Okay, the noun as an object. Okay, the object is the receiver of an action. For example, Mary. So, for example, if we have the example, Mary ate the food. So the action here is what? Ate. And the person performing the action is who? Mary, which is now the subject. Now the person receiving the action of being eaten is what? Not the person, but whatever is receiving the action is what? The food. Now it becomes the object of our sentence. Okay? Now, we have 2 types of objects. Apart from now just functioning as an object, we have there as a direct object. Okay? So when a noun functions as a direct object, it receives the direct action of the verb. Okay, it receives the direct action of the verb. For example, you can have a sentence: the kidnappers the kidnappers took Kimani. So Kimani receives the direct action of the what? The verb being what? Taken. Okay, the kidnappers took Kimani. All right, now one other type of an object is an indirect object. Apart from the direct object, we also have the indirect object. Okay, it usually comes after the verb but before the direct object. Okay, so it usually comes, this indirect object, whenever a sentence when I use an indirect object, it means that that sentence will have two objects, and it usually comes after the verb but before the direct object. For example, the teacher bought the students pens. Okay, the teacher bought the students pens. So the indirect object here is the students. Okay, the teacher bought the, so it normally tells us to whom or for whom the action was performed. All right, so that who was bought pens? Now we have what? The students. All right, now to continue on that, we have another thing about the indirect object. We are looking at now the positioning. We've said that it normally comes before the, it normally comes after the verb but before the what? The direct object. Now, when the indirect object comes after the direct object, it is preceded by a preposition, so that you're not just used to these sentences. The sentences can be interchanged, but still we have two objects. For example, the teacher bought pens for the students. So in this sentence, the direct object is this one, direct object, and then the indirect object is who? The students. So again, remember, we are looking at functions of what? Nouns, and they can function as an object, and in this case it can be functioning as a direct object or an indirect object. So here, remember, we say that the direct object normally comes after the verb but before the what? The direct object. So here, this students is coming before the after the verb, so our indirect object is here, indirect object, and then now what follows is our direct object. When I say DO, it means direct object. All right, okay. Another thing, the noun can also function as an object of a preposition. Number 3, the noun as an object of a preposition. or a prepositional complement, or a prepositional complement. So it can function as an object, the noun as an object of a preposition, or we call it a prepositional complement. The noun as a prepositional complement. For example, it now completes the object of a preposition. For example, the cat is under the table. Okay, so under here is our preposition. Remember, prepositions are words that tell us where something is or where it's happening. Okay, for example, that one. Now we have the table. Now is the noun. Okay, and in this case now, this one is a noun phrase. Remember, when it is a group of words that is following something, it's now a noun phrase. When it occurs in 2 or 3, that will be a noun phrase, as long as whatever is surrounding the noun is a modifier to the noun. So in this case, the noun is functioning. The noun phrase is also functioning as a what? An object of the preposition. Okay? The pen is on the table. So on is our preposition, the table is our noun phrase. Okay? Or we can say, instead of saying the table, we can say it's on the desk, so that we have at least a difference. All right? So our preposition is on, and then our noun phrase is what? The desk. So there it is functioning as an object of a preposition. Another function of a noun. Okay, a noun is a complement. What is a complement? A complement is a word that completes the predicate part of the sentence. So a complement is a word that completes the predicate part of a sentence. The predicate part. Now, the predicate is the part where the part of a sentence that talks about the subject or the object. Okay? The predicate is the part of the sentence that talks about the what? The subject or the object. I hope that is clear up to that point. So we are looking at now the noun functioning as a complement. And under complement, it can function as either a subject complement or an object complement. So part 1 of our fourth use of a noun is noun as a subject, as a subject complement. So usually when you say it's a subject complement, it means it complements the subject. It is complementing the subject. Okay? So for the noun to function as a word that complements the subject, there must be a linking verb. So a linking verb links the subject and the complement. So the noun will follow the linking verb. So the noun will follow the linking verb. Okay, an example of a linking verb now. Before we get to the example of a sentence of a noun as a subject. A linking verb is just a verb that links, that functions to link the subject and the complement. Usually, it normally links the complement and the subject. So examples are forms of maybe the verb be, Okay, we have become. Examples of linking verbs. We have become. Okay, depending on how they are functioning in the sentence, we have appear. You know, we also have different types of, like, sometimes the linking verb could also appear like a stative verb, but in this case they're just linking. So the most appropriate is be or become. That one it links. That's where it links. So for example, now if you want to link the subject and the complement, Jane is a nurse. So a nurse here is complementing the subject. So Jane is our subject. So a nurse is a subject complement. It's complementing Jane. It is now telling us more about Jane. All right? Okay? And Jane, remember, is the predicate part of our sentence. The predicate is now Jane is. Now it's completing. Jane is our predicate. Okay? So, for example here, Jane is our predicate. And you see that the what? The complement is a word that completes the predicate part of a sentence. So it is completing this predicate part. Okay? So all this is the predicate part. So the complement does what? Completes it. All right? For example, Kimani became president. Okay? Or became the president. All right? So that we have Kimani as our subject. Okay? The whole of it like this is now our predicate. But now this one is our subject complement. It's just completing the predicate part of a sentence. All right? Now, having said that, we also have, so the first part we've just been looking at the noun as a subject complement. So we're going to look at the noun as an object complement. Noun as an object complement. Okay? The noun as an object complement here, the noun completes the object of the sentence. In other words, it is telling us more, okay? Telling us more about the object. Okay? It's telling us more about the object. For example, we painted the walls. So up to that point, we have what? The subject here is we. Okay, remember painted is the action. Walls is the receiver, which is now our object. And we are talking about nouns functioning as an object complement. Okay, so when it functions as an object complement, then what follows here is an object complement. So we painted the walls pink. So pink is now the object complement. Okay, another example, the student elected Maria president. You can't put as president because remember, still it will sound grammatical, so don't worry. So remember, this is our subject, this is our action, maybe the verb, and then this is our object, and then this is our object complement. It tells us more about Maria. Okay, what about Maria that was done? Elected Maria. Maria what? President. You can say they elected Maria, but when you add president, it means it completes the meaning of what? The sentence, or the meaning of the object. Why choosing the what? The object. Now we're going to look at a few exercises here that will help us remember the functions of noun. Remember, I've looked at nouns and their functions in sentences. And they've said that the nouns can function as subjects, they can function as objects, they can also function as subject complements or object complements, and they can also function as objects of prepositions. Okay, now let's look at a few exercises here that can help us memorize. Okay, now you're supposed to fill in this exercise, fill in each blank space with an appropriate noun. Is that the dash I saw you reading? He said that he enjoyed going to the dash. I am worried about dash because he has not been eating well. So just fill it in with an appropriate noun. Okay, then we have another exercise. So you identify the nouns or noun phrases in the following sentences and state their function. So number 1, okay. So question 1, our new librarian is Miss Joki. My father gave the school a computer. And number 3, the rascals met under the bridge. So you identify the noun or noun phrases, then state their function. Okay. Then our last assignment. So construct sentences using the following nouns or noun phrases as either a subject, object, or complement. Okay, then indicate a specific function in each case. Okay, so I'm going to give you a few nouns here. We have dog, we have the ant. Don't worry, okay, I'm using a small letter so that if you want to use it wherever, you will choose. Okay, poverty, faith, honesty, the man. Okay, so use all of them, either as a subject, as an object, or an object complement, or a subject complement. And after the sentence, you make sure you give how you're using it as in that sentence. How have you used that noun in that sentence? Have you used it as a subject complement? Have you used it as a subject? Or have you used it as an object? Or have you used it as an object of a preposition? You choose, but you make sure at least you capture all this. You capture subject, capture object, capture subject complement, object complement, and object of a preposition. So we've come to the end of our lesson. Remember, we've just talked about the functions of nouns. Remember, these are just things you know, but now we're looking at them in a broader perspective. How are they used in sentences? Okay, this is something you cannot be able to just say that you can assume, but at least it's knowledge on when you see this particular word, then it is functioning as this and that. It's not something you should be scared about. All right, now they can function, nouns again can function as objects, subjects, object complements, or objects of prepositions. Do have a lovely time.